Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If people will show their faces, that would be good. If you don't feel comfortable showing your face, it's still okay too. So, welcome to the panel. I'm going to be sharing our okay. Did you let these people in? Margaret, are you letting people in? Not Margaret.
Yes.
Abby. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share the screen right now and give a brief presentation on what we're doing. And then I will call the presenters to give you what they brought to the panel today. Right now I'm sharing the screen. And of course, we know we are all in NGO CSW 69. And then one of our supporters, or our main supporter, is Global Giving. Our topic is a gaze at imaging of women in folklores and its control of women's psyche. So we're not just looking at the images, we're looking at the creation of those images, thus the imaging. I will be the moderator. I'm the host. I'm also going to be presenting as one of the presenters. In our midst, we have a discussant, Dr. Mary Owens, who will talk at the end when we finish. Our synopsis, like we said in our flyer, the panel will explore the impact of folklores on the societal attitude to women, which has perpetuated violence against women and girls in indigenous societies. Okay, and then the first person that we talk will be from Canada. That will be Monica Long. She will introduce herself and talk. The second person will be Margaret, Dr. Ambassador Margaret. The third will be Tati Nwandi Ntumba. She will also introduce herself and talk. At the end will be Pastor Kate Imparo and yours truly. Then we're going to go and start with Monica. So because we have only 1 hour, 30 minutes, and we want to leave a lot of time for question and answers. So we're going to go straight to Monica to see what she has for us.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the chance to be here. Oops, I'm just trying to share my screen, sorry. There we go. I really appreciate and am very grateful for the opportunity to be here. My name is Monica Leong, and I am an adult education and literacy specialist. And it's just a real pleasure to be here today and start off this conversation. So I am from Canada, and the place I live in Canada is called Calgary, the city of Calgary. And this is what my city looks like. Are you seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes, great. So there's my city, and this is what it looks like just outside my city. And I'd like to start today with a land acknowledgement, and this is a practice here in Canada that helps us connect to the land and acknowledge that Indigenous people have been living on and caring for this land that we now call Canada for thousands of years. So with gratitude, mutual respect, and reciprocity, I acknowledge that I am joining you today from Mohkinstsis, now known as Calgary. I acknowledge the ancestral home, culture, and oral teachings of the Treaty 7 signatories, which includes the Siksika Nation, Piikani Nation, Kainai Nation, the Iithka Stoney Nakoda Nation, consisting of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney bands, and the people of the Tsuut'ina Nation. Mohkinstsis is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and to the Otipemisiwak Métis Districts 5 and 6. As a descendant of settlers in this region, I recognize my shared responsibility going forward on this journey of truth and reconciliation. So land acknowledgements like that are a pretty common practice now where I live. So for today, it helps ground me in the place where I am from. And it helps, today I'm thinking about my perspective on stories and women's roles in stories and how that's grounded in my own experience. And that could be very different from other people's experiences and their experience of stories and storytelling, and depending on language and the role of stories and storytelling in our shared cultures. So as you may already be aware, Canada has a long history of official policies and practices that have directly and purposely mistreated Indigenous people. Over the last few years, since the end of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, more and more Canadians are becoming educated and aware of our shared history. And at all levels of society, we're starting to engage in listening and learning about the truth of the history of colonization and the policies of cultural genocide that have shaped Canada's past and present. Now, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission brought forth 94 calls to action. And one of those calls is for Canadians to build capacity in our education systems to foster intercultural understanding and empathy and mutual respect. And that means that many people in Canada now are on a journey, both personally and professionally, to learn more about Indigenous knowledge and ways of being. So part of this journey for me involves learning more about Indigenous storytelling, particularly from some of the many different cultures that have lived for thousands of years in the place where my settler family has come to live. So as I learn more about the stories of the original people of the place where I am, I have started to understand that there are profound differences in the role of stories in different cultures, in who has permission to tell the stories, what meanings are carried in the stories, and the impacts they have on the cultures and on the people in them. So from my perspective, I've noticed some striking differences in how women or female characters are presented in the stories that I learned as a child, as compared to the stories that have been told for generations by Indigenous communities in this part of the world. Now, in the culture that I grew up in, storytelling, folktales, and well-known stories, they came to me mostly from old storybooks or from Disney movies. So my culture is not that of an oral culture, but depending on your experience, this might seem familiar to you, but I learned in the stories that I grew up with that women often fill very stereotypical roles. So the damsel in distress, or the princess that needs saving, or the meddling stepmother that causes chaos, or like a mermaid that gives up everything for her man. And these are just some of the archetypes of female characters that impacted me from the stories and books and movies that I experienced growing up. But this is very, very different than from the way the stories and storytelling is seen in many Indigenous cultures around where I'm from. So in starting to learn more about that, I'm learning a little bit about what it means to be part of an oral culture, a culture that transmits its knowledge and its ideas and practices primarily through spoken word. And that's very different than the tradition that I grew up in. So for many Indigenous communities around where I live, the traditional stories of their oral tradition are not make-believe, the way I view the stories of my childhood. So they are true and integral components of the culture's worldview. And the stories are not to be dismissed as myth or superstition either. They connect the storytellers to their elders and to their ancestors and to their language. And as we know, many Indigenous languages are at risk of being lost. In the Métis oral tradition, for example, around where I live, stories are often told by the older women in the community. That's who gets to tell the stories. And stories were a way to keep an oral record of really important information. So for example, some stories might have carried in them the records of family connections and genealogies. And so they were an important way for the community to prevent close marriages, for example. And other stories, for example, carried with them information about where food was located, how to harvest it, how to prepare it and eat it. And over many generations, this oral tradition has helped communities survive and maintain their identity and keep their communities closely knit together. Now, these oral traditions are quite different from the stories that I heard as part of this dominant culture that I'm in, and which is not an oral culture. So another difference that I've noticed is about the different female roles or characters in many Indigenous stories from where the area where I'm from. So of course, different cultural groups have different stories, and there are many cultural groups, but some characters I'm noticing are coming up in different, like across different groups of the Indigenous groups that I'm looking at. So for example, Mother Earth, Grandmother Moon, Sky Woman, Star Woman, or among other female characters. So these characters are often very strong characters, and they play an integral role in things like creation stories. So that's very different than that feigning princess that I grew up with in the stories and storytelling that I knew. Now, we know that stories have, they have power. They can help us understand ourselves and the human condition. They can help us connect and develop self-confidence and self-esteem and a sense of identity. And stories have the power to help us see ourselves, but also to see the larger human family. Now, I'm approaching this topic with humility, knowing that I'm a beginner in learning about Indigenous storytelling, but I'm also coming to this conversation as an educator. In my role as an educator, I see stories and I know that they can open up a window for us to discover more about human behavior and to talk about how our society is and how we might imagine that it could be better. And I'm always looking for opportunities to use stories to connect with students and to have them connect to their own feelings and their identities and how they see the role of women and girls. Now, I also come to this conversation as a world citizen. I'm just interested in hearing from other people in other locations and cultures about the impacts that folktales and story traditions have on women and girls. So now I'd like to pass the mic off to my fellow panelists to hear more about what role female characters play in folktales and how that shapes the experiences of women and girls today in different cultural communities. So thank you again for having me, and I very much look forward to hearing what my other panelists have to say.
Thank you, Monica. The next person is presenter 2 is Dr. Margaret. We are waiting for you. Oh, you are muted. You are muted. Unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So the presenter that just spoke, I want to thank you because you spoke very well about the parts of Canada I don't know about. Then I'm speaking from Nigeria perspective, although I'm in New York now. I'm a Nigerian. My name is Margaret. I live in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. I school in Nigeria. I do business in Nigeria, and I work in Nigeria. So this topic is particularly touching my soul. To raise a voice, a heritage voice for the Urobo women in South Nigeria, where I come from. And I want to take my point by saying, introduction of the Urobo woman. Who is Urobo woman? The role of the Urobo woman in the society of Niger Delta. The female deities, what we used to adopt, because in Nigeria, we are very religious people. and the reflection of storytelling, how it has modeled our lives, the influence of female deities, our beliefs that have brought us to this level, that the Robo woman is a strong woman, then the contrary reflection of who we are. And I will conclude by summarizing the power of the Niger Delta woman, especially the Robo woman. So going straight to my point, I want to say a big thank you to this panel for giving me the opportunity to express the power of influence of an Robo woman, details how we have used our culture to empower governments to bring up God-fearing children. If you come to Niger Delta, the situation you see there doesn't look appealing. It's a very rich region. The overview of the Robo ethnic group primarily located in the Niger Delta, just to mention a few, the cultural heritage is significant. People around Niger Delta know that name, Urobo woman. What comes to your mind when you hear about the Urobo woman is strength. They are very resourceful. They are influential both in government and in religion and every aspect. Discussing the traditional role of Urobo woman, including the leadership position, the economic contribution to social responsibilities.
We can't hear you anymore. We can't hear you.
What's happened? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So the Urobo woman, like I was saying, has the power to influence. They are very mentally strong. When you say you are married to a Urobo woman, it is power they think of. Their influence in government, in bringing up their children, their spiritual practice. And before now, if I want to go to the days where I grew up, especially from the Niger Delta, before now, I saw women as slaves because there was no voice. An indigenous woman was just to work and bring up children and service your husband. But with the appearance of education, now women cannot speak their voice. You can see her, a woman who has nothing in their own portfolio as education, anything, they will bring up president. For example, my former president was brought up in the creek. I, for one, I will speak of myself. I grew up in a place where there is no education at all. I didn't have my mother in my early stage, but you can see the strength of everyone. I begin to visualize everything as I was preparing for this topic. A woman wakes up in the morning with the intention of bringing food back to the table, not considering the husband. That is the mentality I had. But with education, women now rose up with their voices and begin to speak and begin to empower themselves. Education breaks the barrier of the slavery mentality I thought of when I think of an Urobo woman. My intention about Urobo woman is to wake up in the morning, you just go and fetch firewood, you make food, you do this, everything you work for your children. But look at it today, Urobo woman can go out as far even to the UN to speak the voice of other women. Urobo woman can become that woman that can speak in the government. Urobo woman has become pastors and influential spiritual powers. But before this time, we are just known for our deities. When you call the Urobo woman, they say they have these Mami water deities, all of these spiritual things that are negative. But today you can see voice of spiritual leaders from Urobo land. And the present stage of our life, we are supposed to be passing this rich culture to the next generation. But there is one thing I have just noticed, that the culture of Urobo is dying slowly, because in an attempt to play the role of a man and a woman at the same time, which is the nature of that strong Urobo woman, we have decided to throw away the language, we have decided to throw away the virtues. Growing up, my grandfather used to come to tell us stories. My grandfather lived above 100 years. And if you come visiting in your home, It doesn't tell you that you are bad. It gives you stories. And at the end of these stories, you will see somebody crying. And that is what we are doing today. I said, we'll call him Ba. Ba, but you didn't say my name. He said, no, but you are speaking about me. So with storytelling in our Robo land, it was a form of moonlight circle time, like we have in nursery schools. It's a moonlight circle time that you use to stories to correct children. All of these are dying off from our culture. We have the passing of our language to the next generation through family businesses. Before now, when you grew up, if your father is doing bakery work, you continue with that. But all of that is dying in Urobo land. Urobo women are very strong financially. They can support their husband financially, and they can support in every aspect in government. But today, some of us have labeled those who can speak their voice like I'm doing now as being too open. This is not the nature of a woman. Women are supposed to listen to their husbands. Contrary to the belief before now that you have to get messages through your husband, the Yoruba woman now can speak through their voice. But what do we see from our co-women? Our co-women will tag some of us as being too loud. How can you? You're a woman, you should mellow down. If I had brought the picture of the Niger Delta, you will see how a woman wakes up in the morning in a boat, and everything that used to bring bread back to the house is done in that boat. And you will see on the day of show up, this woman can take some millions to the bank. That is the Niger Delta strength of every woman. But in Robo land, there is this culture that you must speak through your husband, which on my own, I have in my own way tried my best to make sure that women around my community and around me should stand for themselves. You will not speak through your husband. The whole of Robo woman, the super woman, the idea of Robo woman to be super, it's not just about bringing up children. It's not the bringing up of your children. It's not the bringing up of a high-class community that you are known, but it's about educating yourself to keep the norms of what we know before now, that Robo woman is that super woman will just be influencing at home. Now today, we have references of women who pass through these challenges. For example, one of our big mothers that have gone to be with the Lord, Mrs. Ibro, the mother of Michael Ibro. Growing up, I saw her with my eye. I live opposite a bank. She comes there to put money in the bank when there are no e-services. And she was one of the women that influenced me to say a woman can be this influential as it bring up children to this level. So in my own conclusion, I am looking up to the Urobo land to grow above these norms of suppressing women who want to come out to speak, who want to render their voices, not because we want to overshadow our husband and our father, but for these voices to come out and to make them stand on their own. Because the image of Robo woman, of a superwoman, shouldn't be limited to that of domestic work. It should not be limited to that of how many children, how many marriages, everything you have done. But it should be the level of you bringing out the best in you. We have seen governors. We have seen several positions in churches. We have seen mother of presidents come from rural areas. We have seen people who are ordinary before now, people who did not know anything about education, but through the influence of different NGOs in creeks and different parts of Urobo land, today they can read. I can remember vividly a woman who started schooling at 50, and today she sells books by the road. These are the projects that most NGOs have come to do that really inspired me with this topic, that the Urobo woman we know should not be a picture of a strong woman suffering. It should not be a picture of woman just walking tirelessly, but a woman who can be educated, who can transform from that cultural heritage of being this mentality of slavery to that of an influential woman, a woman who can appear in government, a woman who can be a leader among a social small group in the community, a woman who can stand out in the church. Before now, we have our deities, our families go to these traditional people. But with the arrival of Christianity, men are the powerful ones who sit in the altars. But today, that barrier has been broken. And I will want such barrier to be broken still in education. If God helping us with this platform of where we are speaking, and opportunities are given to women, I know more women from the Robo land who have been so buried in themselves can come out in open to speak about this rich culture of these happy people, always smiling, dancing, accommodating. These Urobo women are the first women.
Okay, I think it's number 3, Pretty. Tati is going to be talking. It looks like your mic went off. It's Tati's turn to talk now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Christy. I would like to acknowledge my fellow speakers who spoke before me. And what they've said is actually very intensive. And I'm going to add to what they have said. As you can see, Sister Christy, can you help me share my screen, please?
Okay. Oh, okay. You want me to share your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
I'm going to be, let me introduce myself. My name is Tati, and I am a therapeutic reflexologist and also the president of the scientific committee of African Reflexology Network. So I'm going to be focusing on, can we go to the second slide, please, Sister Christy? Today, I'll be focusing on the DRC, the imaging of women in the DRC. Folklores, as other speakers said, was a natural way. It was actually a means of communication in ancient times. It was a tool of education. If we remember very well, when stories are told in ancient time, there used to be a wise man or a wise woman who will sit under the moonlight with young people and he will be telling them stories. And these stories had the purpose to empower and inspire the young people. Unfortunately, as time goes by, we became civilized, we became people that acquired different knowledge. We changed our culture. We changed our stories that we were telling. The stories that we told initially were the stories that portrayed the image of a woman as the strong leader in societies. The indigenous folklores actually presented the woman as the first educators for children. Unfortunately, as the society became patriarchal, we forgot the main purpose of these stories. Now it's all about women becoming weak. We present women as weak human beings, and women are now objectified as if they have no sense of being. I'm going to talk about a book in the DRC case. There's a book that one author wrote. Is the title is "Your Fight, Black Woman," and in French it says that "Ton combat, femme noire." This book is actually summarizing the challenges that Congolese women are facing in general. It is a general issue. In the book, the author Kash Katende is actually inviting women to take back their power, to own their crown, something that we have let away. We have allowed new things that we've learned to take over. So what is happening in the DRC at the moment, I'm going to speak from my own experience, is about the image of women in marriage. My fellow speaker mentioned that as well. So when I looked at, as a young girl, let me go back to my young age. As a young girl, I noticed one thing. The women around my mother, which were my aunt, a female friend, my grandmother, I noticed that all of them were abused in their marriages. All of them, they had issues in their marriages. So those issues, experiencing those issues, they had to keep up, they had a face. They usually say that as a woman, you need to sacrifice. As a woman, you need to be strong. And today, as a grown-up woman, doing research in on African culture, I realized that my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, they sacrificed their life just because they wanted to keep one human being happy, which was their husband. They never thought of themselves. Their only focus was, I want to keep this work. And they use all their energies. I've never seen them happy, to be quite honest. They tend to complain about this. Oh, my husband has done this. My husband has done that. And together they were encouraging each other to, let's just make it happen. Because that was the image that society has given to women. A woman needs to have a man beside her. If you are in a society where you are just a woman alone, living alone, minding your business, something is wrong with you. You are not a complete human being. You need to have a man beside you to be a complete human being as a woman. And that is affecting our society in the DRC till today. If you go to a place, you present yourself that I'm single, everybody's looking at you with an eye that is not making you comfortable. And this has led a lot of women to experience abuse. They've been objectified based on what I'm seeing in my personal life. I've noticed that a lot of women are praying to be with a man, but men, they don't really care. They are fine the way they are. They can have a woman or not have a woman, it is okay. But women, based on what society has portrayed to us, a woman wants to feel complete, to feel satisfied by having a man beside her. At the moment, I'm doing research on African culture. I have come to realize that there is a lot of information that has been presented to us as part of our culture that is not really what our culture and traditions are. Our culture is connect us to nature. Our culture is a culture of connecting people, bringing people together, and giving the woman the power that the power that is instilled in her as the feminine energy on this planet. That is why Africa is usually addressed as a she, because she is the mother of the world. And when we look closely to Africa, we will realize that everything a woman needs to be actually resides in this continent that we call Africa. And I would like to call women. There's been a lot said about women empowerment, but till today, we're still facing a lot of challenges. Even with the so-called education that we have today, you can find a woman who is a doctor, who is a full professor, yet still, she's still yearning to be under a man to feel complete as a woman. She cannot stand alone. She wants to be covered under the shadow of a man. She does not want her own light to shine. If her own light shines, society will say, no, 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 she's not a proper woman, as they say. She needs the light of her husband to be on top of her to show that, oh, yes, she's shining because there's a man behind her. That is why there's even a saying that says, behind a successful woman, there is a man, or behind a successful man, there's a woman. Those sayings that we consider true to be true are just there to control. Is a tool of mass control. And they are controlling and suppressing in all this. The vulnerable people are us women. So let's become aware of what is going on and play our parts. And our part is the part of change and transformation. And it begins with you, and it also begins with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tati. Our next speaker, I hope the network is letting you, Pastor Uche, because you keep coming in and going out. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So two of us are going to present, because everything people have said will all boil down to the way we interpret those strengths we get from the folktale, whether it's really keeping us behind or is propelling us forward. So, Kate, do you want to start? Yes, start, then I will do mine following you. It makes sense,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Professor Christie. And I want to thank all the people that have spoken and those that will still contribute. It's really an honor for us to be here. I am Pastor Kate Uche Baro. I am from Igbo land in Nigeria. Igbo land is the western part, the eastern part of Nigeria. And I'm going to talk a little about folklore in Igbo society. You know, we've said a lot about folk tales, the stories that we hear. You know, most of these stories affect our lives and our destinies, especially as women. You find out that the stories of the old folk tales that we hear, they contributed a lot to the marginalization of women in reinforcing patriarchal norms. I thank God my sister from Canada said it too. You know, there are so many ways that they portray women that is not good. And it has affected us as, you know, as a gender. Some of these things are, number one, portrayal of women as submissive and inferior. You know, they keep saying that women should submit. And all the stories they talk about it. But it's not just submissive in the positive way, but that women will kind of lay down their lives and everything they have just for the man, just for the male, you know, and it's affecting the woman in a great way. They believe that the primary role of every woman is just for the husband and for the children. Apart from the husband and the children, the woman does not have an identity. This, of course, is not right. We also talk about their aspiration of domestic duties. Women are meant to be in the kitchen. These stories tell us such. They want us to know that this is where we are supposed to be. Women are not expected to behave anyhow. I remember Things Fall Apart, a rumor. He says, sit like a woman, because they always see women that you must be controlled. Some of these folk tales, stories of the past, portray us women with deceit and destruction. You find out that they will give stories of where women are portrayed as being cunning, being manipulative, or maybe troublemakers. Probably a woman wants to speak out her mind or that kind of a thing, or a woman has something to express. They will start seeing it that the woman is being over vocal. So any woman that has an issue, or any woman that wants to speak out over an issue must be punished because it's a woman, not of any other thing. You know, they reinforce that idea that as a woman, you don't need to talk. The place of a woman is either in the kitchen or in the husband's bedroom. These are some of the things that these stories portray to us. These folktales restrict leadership roles. It's only the man. It's the men that are the kings. It's the men that are the heroes. It's the men that are the warriors. There is no woman that goes to war. There's no woman that stands in front to do things that will benefit the society, because women are not given that opportunity. And whenever they are telling these stories, they reflect such. This began to affect the woman. So the women are not involved in decision-making. They don't do anything except just what the man said. So you find out that polygamy affected us a lot, especially in Igbo land and some other African places. Polygamy and female subjugation, because they see it that as a woman, a man can take as many wives as he wants. You as a woman, you don't have any say. You can't tell the man not to do it. And it brings, you know, the women will continue to be in strife. The co-wives will want to kill themselves. They want to kill the children of their wives, of their, you know, co-wives. They keep planning evil against each other, not because they don't love each other, but because that is how they have been portrayed. These things are really, really affecting us as women. Then you find out that they always look at women as demons. You see a woman who can speak out, a woman who can do something, a woman that can stand for other women. They will say she's a witch. They will try to put up a name that is derogatory, a name that is bad against such a woman. These are some of the things we see in the stories that are told. Then they want to profit the fact that for you to be an ideal wife, you don't need to talk. You only have to do, and when you finish cooking, you make sure that you give your husband first and give the male folk, then any other thing. Even I could remember the story again, one of these folktales that said that the women are only allowed to eat. There are some part of the chicken a woman is not allowed to eat. You know, they tell these as stories and you see it happening. The women believe it themselves and we keep walking like that. But I really, really believe that, thank God for this kind of forum, that there'll be a way the women gender, the female gender will begin to stand strong. And these same folktales can be used. How can we do it? First of all, I know that there are so many great women, especially in the place I am coming from, that is Igbo land. There are so many great women that have done well. These stories can revolve around them. Let me give an example. We have Dora Akunyili, who was one of the directors of NAFDAC then. She was the person that was used to release fake drugs that people had been taking. She was the person that was used to pitch out the bad eggs among the men that were doing it. This is a woman that stood strong and said that fake drugs must stop in Nigeria. And she is a woman, an Igbo woman. Stories can be made out of her that will affect the generation that is coming and even those that are here, and change the mindset of the girl child to let them know that they are relevant. Look at Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who up to 7 years, up till now, has been the DG of World Trade Organization. And she's still there, making impact, positive impact, affecting lives, affecting organizations, and affecting nations. And this is a woman, an Igbo woman. Stories can be made out of them that will help not just Igbo land, not just Nigeria, but the world to know that the female gender is relevant. And give us as women positive confidence to stand strong and know that there are so many things we can achieve. There are so many other women like that. We have Chioma, that was a sprinter, an athletic. She did so well in that field. She did so well in sports. She's standing strong. These people can be used to change the narrative, because that is what we are talking about here, changing the narrative. Helping these people to know that women can be leaders. Women can also be heroes. Women can be mentors. There are so many ways women can help to change the society. They are doing it already, but they are not recognized. Folktales, storytelling can help. If we restructure the storytelling and leave those ones that has been marginalized and start giving the positive storytelling that will affect the lives of the young ones that are growing up, you find out that both the male and the female gender will begin to understand themselves. The women will be positive and stand strong and do what they can do. Then the old stereotypes will be left and they will move on. The women will now take their roles. There are so many women out there that are doing great things, even not in Igbo land, even in Nigeria and other places. Some of such women is like Professor Christie that just called us here. This is making an impact. A story can be made out of her. So I believe so much that storytelling is good, but it has to be done in the positive way so that it can carry the female gender forward and give us a voice. What we need is a voice and an opportunity to exercise what the woman can do for her society. Let me rest my case a little so that we can hear from the professor. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everybody that's presented at this point, and thank you, everybody that's here listening to us. At this point, I will be looking at the creation of that folktale. Who is creating it? Why is it being created? And I will start with a little bit of a song that I might get from the YouTube. I'm trying to open my own. Oh boy, did I get us out of, did I get myself out of Zoom?
We still see you and hear you.
Okay, so I'm here. Okay, I thought I've gone out of Zoom. So I was working on other people's, okay, I was working on other people's, oh boy, did I do it again? No, okay. So I'm going to share my screen now so that it won't be other people's screen. I was trying to share my screen and I kept seeing other people I was sharing their screen. Okay, so the topic now is imaging women in Igbo folklore and women and disempowerment, because it's one thing that's causing the disempowerment, imaging women. And I'm not the original author of what I'm reading now. I think I saw it on PowerPoint. It says, what we learn becomes part of what we are. And then we have Carl Jung saying, a person's past and childhood determines future behavior. So the story I'm going to look at is the story about the woman who loves money more than she loves children. And of course, that's the same thing Tati was saying, Kate was saying, Dr. Ombu was saying, that creating these images, sometimes either it makes us strong or it diminishes us. In this one, why should somebody think of a woman making money and refusing to love children? Okay. So this first story shows this woman. I show the picture here on the left of children listening to this type of story. And after listening to this story, what do? They grow up imbibing this story. And the story was that the woman was an entrepreneur, raising chicken, selling the chicken, making money. But then the side of that story becomes, because she was making money, she was neglecting her children and they were dying. So the last one, called Ileana, died and came back from her afterlife to come and torment her. And there she is chasing after Ileana, and the result was she was chasing a ghost and ended up in the evil forest with the child. And then the question is, what is her? We know as women, we should not neglect the family. There were children. But then why will an enterprising woman be shown that she could not handle the two? If you are enterprising, and in the whole story, I didn't see the husband. So if she's meant to go outside her town in order to sell and make money and bring home, that becomes something that the keepers of the society, the keepers of the norms would not want, because this is a woman venturing into the male arena. Okay, so that's where the core of our presentation today hinges. The fact of the imaging of characters of these folktales are skewed in such a way that women are perpetually denigrated, leading to their denigrating themselves and ending in their psyche showing portrayal of self-abasement. Because who is telling the story? The same women. Somebody made up the story. The society wants the story that way. That's why it's a collection of the way the society wants to perceive a woman. And then it is dramatized in the story. And if a woman is telling the story to children in the evening after eating, the children will absorb whatever lesson being given, because hey, after all, it's their mother telling the story. Then you have the story of Ojadele. Ojadele, in spite of all his foolishness and fighting his personal god, was lauded. He didn't end up in the evil forest. He still came back home to his society. But the punishment he had was that the ghost or the spirits scratched his back and then created the spinal column, which you know is one of the vulnerable areas of a human life. So his sin affected all of us, while Nwanyeke's sin, the one that was supposed to be making money, consigned her into the evil forest. And if you come from Igbo land, to be consigned into the evil forest means that you committed an abomination. So her abomination was trading and making money. That was her abomination. So in the story, Ojadele was strong, made strong. What he has is sought after. He was sent to represent this society. And even though he has that flaw, the hubris, what we call the tragic flaw, people still aspire to be like him. But the woman, in her own case, was abhorred, criticized, ostracized. And even when her child died, there was no empathy. Nobody came to console her because they thought she brought it on herself. How dare you move into the male arena? Okay. So now we take it to the present day. First of all, the effectiveness of folktale in imaging. The tools of folktale employed and construction of the image is the luring song. I will play the song at the end. The song makes you relax. You think you're enjoying a song, but the song has a message. And that message is put inside you forever and ever, even when you are enjoying it, thinking you are enjoying it. The result is what? These tools, the folktales employed the construction of the image, and you imbibe the image. Who is the audience of the folktale? Children, impressionable, future generation. And then the message is couched in the alluring medium that makes them keep enjoying it. Women's place in the society, ensuring that the morals are maintained in perpetuity, because once they learn it, they act it at home. And they give it to their children, to their children. So in the end, it never stops. Up to today, I'm enjoying the story and enjoying the song. But then as an adult, when I look at the story, I wonder, Igbo people love enterprise, people being enterprising. We are noted for being big merchants. Then it becomes an abomination because a woman did it. And you wonder why women are not trading in China, going all those places to bring containers. If they did it, they will no longer be women. They will be looked at like Kate said, and other people said, like, you are venturing out of your area. You are punished. So you have to stay within the confines of the society. So when women want to be accepted, they will not violate the morals of the values imposed on them. Thus, look at this lady looking towards prosperity, that is chained into, because of the denigration of any woman who is aspiring to go that high. She turns around and denigrates herself and teaches it to her children. And in teaching it to her children, she goes into self-abasement. Oh, our father, that's the husband, will not want me to do this. Or these people will not want me. Do you want to be consigned to the evil forest? If you're consigned to the evil forest, you lose everybody. Nobody talks to you. Even in the families, you will find that within the families, they might be enjoying what you have. They will still resent the fact that you're the one bringing it. We used to have a lady in my village who used to go outside my village to trade. She was rich. She was raising her children. The women will gang up and ostracize her for one thing or the other. Meanwhile, at night, their husbands will go to the woman to borrow money to feed their women. So it's better to get it from her anonymously so that they don't look small. I will stop at this because I'm sure there are people going to ask questions, and we are going to, in our question, because I know a lot of people cut short what they were trying to say. In the question and answer time, we are going to discuss it. I'm turning over to our discussant to now put us all together before the question and answer.
Thank you. I had to find my mute. Well, I found these very, very interesting, all of the presentations. Some differences in some of the perspectives. I think probably based on maybe some of the cultures. In Canada, perhaps those cultures are more matrilineal, where women have power as part of the culture. I'm not sure, maybe Monica can address that. Is that the case in Canada?
Yes, and I speak as someone not from that culture, but from my understanding is that, yeah, it's a matriarchal societies often, and lots of power bestowed on women, and so there's a lot of, it's a very different perspective, I think, and so the stories that continue to come down show women in a different light, in a positive, strong light often.
Yeah, that struck me, that that Mother Earth, the power and so on, So I don't know. Again, not as a member of the different cultures, but that sort of struck me. I'm going to look, I took a lot of notes. There was lots of good information, guys, and very, very interesting. I also felt, because part of preparation, I went back and read Christiana's volumes about Igbo folktales, right? To get an idea. And I agree with what many of you have said, that women are often presented as dependent on men, right? That's where their power comes from, that if they exert themselves in some way that doesn't follow those norms, they are ostracized or looked at as evil. And I liked what Christiana said about the comparison of the man who was able to come back to the land of the living while the woman could not. I also noted in those stories how the co-wives can work against each other. So again, let me just check and make sure. So I also liked, and I saw that a number of you did that looking at how the stories, the folklore are passed on to children is important. Who's the teller of the folk tale? Is it men usually or women? And which folk tales? Is there a difference? It's true that I think the women are also vested in maintaining those traditions, even the ones that negatively impact women, because society kind of sets them up that they're in competition with other women, not with men, not with other people, but with other women to get the men. If they are married, then if there are co-wives, if they don't produce children, if they don't fulfill that role. And I particularly liked what the pastor said about ways to change this. So that's what I would like to ask the panel. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that I missed, folks. I'm sure the questions will bring them up. Again, the characterization of women of good women as submissive, as obedient, as putting their children and their family first is fine. The idea that a woman can't do that and also have a profession, also have a life outside, that's what we've got to change, right? That's where you want to say, being a professional does not mean that you give up your family, your children, your love for them. So I don't know if I've captured everything, but I like how we ended with, what do we do? How can we affect the stories that our younger generations are hearing? So if I missed anything, ladies, please voice.
No, I think you got it all. Yeah.
Okay, then I think we can open up for questions. So again, you can react, you can put up a hand, and I'll try, we've got about 28 people, I'll try to see you, or you could put the question in the chat. Questions for our panel, folks?
Or any presenter that feels that he has more to add to what she has said can use this opportunity to elaborate, especially Margaret and Kate. If you want to talk about what do we do now?
Yeah. And I see Monica put in the chat, I was also very interested in how Margaret talked about education, breaking the barriers put on women.
I think I still want to add something concerning the policies. You find out that like the women I used as my examples, Dora Akunyili and Okonji Iweala, they have supported the policies that benefit women and the society at large. What I would like to suggest is that if these folktales can emphasize female leadership, portraying women as change makers, just like the people we talked about, you find out that it will give us more confidence. That's the girl child that is coming up. We'll have more confidence. So I just want to add that maybe even after this forum, we could still take it up, you know, as a project. We could still take it up to even on our own, start writing stories. You know, maybe with the stories we start writing, other people that are listening to us who have the skill will start doing stuff like that. And at the end of the day, by the time these things are published and it gets to the hand of the younger ones, it will make a lot of impact. Thank you.
Good.
Margaret, do you have something to say? Unmute yourself. I can see you're talking, but you were muted.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know I was muted, and
yeah, it's okay.
So what I want to say is the aspect of women who have the audacity to speak up, that are being tackled by other women. I want to express myself here that when you set your hand on a plow, you don't look back.
That's right.
Today we can hear of Ngozi, today we can hear of Chidamanda. It's because they overlook those criticisms. They did not look at the background. I looked at myself growing up. I grew up in a place where I was craving to speak English. I wanted to leave that remote village to a place where I could speak like other children that come during Christmas. I live in a place where my mom couldn't go to school because it was the daughter of a king and it should not be flogged. So bringing out the voice of women and other women try to bring you down. My only conclusion on this is don't ever look back. Because if you keep on pressing, one day you shall be the Ngozi Kedewela. One day you will come out as Chidamanda, my beloved. One day you will come out like that Robo woman I set an example, who could bring up boys and they become a multi-millionaire, which I saw with my two naked eyes, bringing sack of money because I stay close to a bank, which was my initial inspiration to say, Mommy, one day I'm going to take you out of this place and give you a duplex. And I did. I'm going to get to the end of education. I'm going to make you proud academically. So we should retell this story like what Pastor Oche is saying, so that the young ladies coming up, there should be a platform where they will stand, because there are so many odds working against us in Niger Delta. I don't know more of the Igbo land, but me and you know that the South and the Niger Delta where I come from, there are so many odds against a girl child. You have to carry the umbrella of a husband to be somebody, which is not bad. You have to be very religious to be, which is very good, whichever religion you choose. But have you discovered yourself? Exactly. What are the coping mechanism to fight co-women who want to bring you down? Because it's not about the gender of a man now. You want to work. Look at what professor has made us to be here now. Some women will not dare it. They say you want to speak out. They don't start. They have started feminism. They have started this. They have started this. They are taking data. What are they using the data for? They will bring all the negative. So what I want to tell any girl child, because I'm going to send my write-up on the platform for recording, that every girl child who has set his hand on a plow should not look back. One day it will work. One day it will happen, that your voice will be heard and women will not be marginalized. But that is not to say that will, like the conclusion, you will not leave your children, you will not leave your husband if God give you the grace to be a married woman, and you will not stop pursuing your career. In fact, if you can't pursue your career, you're not my friend. Because you need to be yourself before you become. I always tell my children, I need to be alive to be a mother. People that are sinking, somebody have to come out on shore. before you can save another person. I need to be educated before I will educate you. I need to eat so that I will have strength to breastfeed you. And that should be the mentality of every woman in the attempt to help, especially the robo woman who is very strong. In attempt to help, don't die in helping. Help yourself, stand up, then begin to help. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll bring in a few things on mine, going back to how these norms are couched. They are couched in such a way that they put fear in the woman. We are talking now because we are already educated, we are out here. But step back into the village, where if you're told that you do something, you end up in the evil forest. And then you are asked to carry that torch so that your own children will not be in the evil forest. With that fear in your heart, to venture out takes a lot of strength, like Mwanyeke did, ignoring, just imagine how you are in the village and everybody in the village is not talking to you. That's psychological warfare. And she ignored it. That's a strong woman. And kept doing her. It might be the children were dying from sickle cell anemia, or whoever created the scene tried to make it in such a way that because she was going to the market to sell her wares, her children were dying. But then where is the husband in that picture? Because somebody must have been giving her the pregnancy to have the children. She didn't just have the children. So, and then maybe the person is not providing food for them and she had to go provide food. But then look at another scenario. Who came back to torment her? Her daughter. Maybe she had other children who were not daughters, but it was the daughter. And at this point, I will do two things. One, I will play the song that goes with it, the song that goes with it, that makes it so enticing. And then the children responding to one of the folk tales told them. And you see how such things are inculcated at a very young age. At a very, very young age. I'm going to put it on the YouTube, wherever it comes from, but I'm going to put the link now and share the link. I'm going to share the link. Not share the link, but share the story. Let's see if this is the one. I hope I got the one. Okay. Okay, so let me share it.
It went off.
Yeah, I did it. I took it because we're not listening to it. I just want us to see how the songs are being enjoyed. Now, let's see children responding to the songs, to the story itself. Let's see children responding to story. And you will see that whatever they are learning there, they are also imbibing it. And as a kid, if you're put through that every night, because it's not one night, after supper, every night, you go through this. There's no way you will not grow up thinking along the terms of the stories given. Okay, let me share their response. Okay, these are children. One of them just finished telling the story. So think of this scenario. Think of telling children this story. And then maybe one will say, don't leave your children and go and trade. That would be the response, right? And a girl is in there and already she knows, no, I will not go anywhere to go and make money. Let's leave men to go and make money. Somebody is going to China to bring all these containers and they even show off their wealth. Let me shine under their wealth. Let me go to them and get some of the light. Let me not be the light. So that's basically what happens to the psyche. The boy that is there listening to the story is already been told that women is this, women are this, they are that. The woman that is there has already been told as a kid, you can't do this, you can't do that. Therefore, you grow up with all this playing in your mind, and you don't want to end up in that evil forest. Then you will not be able to shine or get beyond the confines of the village. Those of us that were lucky and for some reason we left the village, we are in our 60s, some of us 50s. So you can think back to those 50s and 60s and think of what the attitude was towards those who left the village at that age. You were supposed to be something abnormal. Now, somebody will say, oh, I didn't know it was I know a woman that was stopping the daughter from going to school. Now the daughter has gone to school, done everything. And he said, oh, I didn't know that education will make people shine. But then you didn't know. But you were stopping this girl from going. Does that make sense now? And somebody has something on the chat. Okay, Mary Owens says,
yeah,
to connect.
it was me.
Okay, you can tell us. You can tell us.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, when Monica started by talking about storybooks she grew up in, Disney films with women's, weak and waiting for the man to save them. I also did, right? These were
Yeah.
part of sort of our culture growing up, and were originally based on old European folk tales. So they are the same. They cast women in the same way. But I have noticed that the more current Disney films have changed the way they look at young women, right? They're often heroes, they're strong, they go out on their own. So I think that's an interesting parallel, right? Even though these are in books and films, they are still rooted in our culture, our background, and they often do portray women in the same way as these other folk tales. So I just thought I wanted to point that out.
Monica, do you have something to say?
Yeah, that's interesting. As I raise my children, I see that the stories that are coming from those same channels are changing. And even other storytelling is becoming more aware of the messaging about women and about other cultural groups and things like that. So there is hope in my circles that that things are changing in the way we're telling stories. But I wonder, I put something on the chat about, does anyone here, when you're talking about, changing the stories, telling different stories or telling stories that have positive images of women, strong women, and what kind of response do people get? Have you experienced people telling stories like that, and do they get backlash? Is it a very courageous thing to do, to tell a different kind of story about women?
What I might think is, one, when we are brought up in those folk tales, I don't know if they ever left room for us to create new folk tales. We could tell the stories, new stories, they will see it as literature. They will see it as story from this. Because in those stories, there's this big thing about the fear that is imbued in you, deep-seated fear. You know, when an Igbo person will say, when one finger touches oil, it smears the rest. So you use your one finger to touch oil, it will contaminate the rest of your fingers. So when that one finger touches that oil, maybe you should cut it out so it doesn't touch the rest of the fingers. Do you understand what I'm trying to, the image I'm trying to create? So because we are here in the UN, we are here in America, you're here in Canada, we are talking on Zoom. What about the child that has to perform in that village where if one hand touches oil, it smears the rest? The rest of the family will think you're bringing shame to them. What happens to that child? How does that child tear out that chain? Because it's a chain. How do you break the chain to come out and be who you want to be? I'm sure some of us did that. I broke the chains. I mean, any chain at all, I broke it. I'm sure even the one that haven't even been created, I broke it before it was created. So, so that's it. That's why the center concentrates in giving them the skill to break the chain. Because the chain will always be there. To even be proactive, think of chains that haven't been even put on them and break it before somebody even thinks of it. So, and like Kate said, we'll have to start telling a new story. We have to start telling, there's this lady, Ifi Obinabo, the Commissioner for Gender, Women Affairs in Anambra State. I can't stop admiring her, the way she goes into the society, tackles gender violence, rescues women. A man fought with a wife, and the man will take all the children and ask the woman to leave. The woman will come to her and cry. She will go get the man and get all the children back and give to the woman. And she's doing all that, we can see. I'm sure not everybody admires her, that the men will be thinking of strangling her for doing that. But again, she's a strong woman. She has broken the chain. The first time in Anambra State, a woman affairs commissioner had ever done that kind of thing. So now she has a poster everywhere and she's reachable 12 midnight. If you send her a message at 1 a.m., she will reply immediately. I wonder when she sleeps. And the next day she's reacting on it. She's working on it to make sure that I saw where the husband poured, I think, petrol on a woman and burnt her in Anambra. I saw it on YouTube where she went there, took the children from the man, and was working on where to put the children. But you know, before they tell you that children belongs to the man, no matter what he does. So we should be having stories like this. Create a folk tale that shows a man doing this, even if we use animals to create the folk tale, because most often we use animals, tortoise, a lion, and all that. We can use it and show what it's not supposed to be, creating our own folk tales, hoping that by the time the next generation will come, they will see it as received or sanctioned stories about how things are supposed to be. Because we were raised on the other one, and we were made to believe that that's how things are supposed to be.
Okay, Prof, I also want to, kind of contribute, like there's something that Margaret said, that every woman should, kind of sit up, believe in yourself, be strong, even when they think you are overdoing it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't look back. I believe that one of the things that can help us this period is anywhere any woman who has gotten this mentality is, any little opportunity you have to speak to the young ones, remind them who they are. Let them know that they are not relegated to the background. Let them know that they have a future, they have a hope, you know, and any way you have to tell them stories or anything, just remember that you have to change that mentality that has been passed on before. I believe that if we keep doing it consistently, and some of us that are speakers in conferences or anything that has to do with women, if we begin to make noise about this, it will help. Because as many women that got it, because like we all said here, and you find out that it's the women that still tell the stories. So it's the women that will change the, we are the people that started, we are the people that end, and we are also the victims. So we really need to take it up and do what we can. Thank you.
We have only 5 minutes left. And Mary, if you can put us through the whole goodbye thing and talk to, you know,
Okay.
close it for us.
First, we did get a comment from Augustine saying that
Okay.
in the chat, the Zulus of South Africa regard women, especially married women, very highly. In the Zulu language, Inkosikazi, literally great king, stands for wife. So that sounds to me like a married woman in particular is, but maybe Augustine wants to add to that?
Yeah, please. I hope she hasn't gone.
Yes. I'm glad about this.
Augustine.
I know I might be in the minority, obviously, among attendees, but I am
could
enjoying
be.
it because
Why are we not seeing your face?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so I want to tender my support to this symposium and all the talks. Just as I said, in the Zulu culture, the founder, Shaka the Zulu, the founder of the Zulu, named wife Great King. It shows, and it ties up with what somebody has already said about women being warriors and leaders in the past. I don't know how things got to change, but what you people are doing is great. Let's encourage others to do it in other places, little by little. Little drops of water will make an ocean. I am on board. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear somebody else? Adeshina, are you still there? Oh, Adeshina is not there. Okay. By the way, Augustine is my younger brother.
Okay.
That's the professor of mathematics at South Africa, University of Johannesburg, South Africa.
All right. Well, that very interesting. No other comments from the audience or from our panelists?
I don't see Tati anymore. What happened to her?
I don't know.
Maybe because she's talking from either Ghana or Congo.
Oh, could well be.
Yeah, maybe mine is saying my battery is almost going to. Let me put my battery before it goes off.
Monica, you wanted to add?
I just wanted to add one little word before we end. I just wanted to say thank you for this conversation and for the chance to be part of the panel. And I think it's important for us to remember that depending on our context and where we are and who we're talking about in what cultures, as we can see in some of the comments even, it might be a different kind of context where it takes more courage or more strength or more of that power that Margaret was talking about putting your hand on that plow and not turning back. It can be very different in different places. And so I'm just very supportive of folks who are in difficult situations trying to put their hand on that plow and keep moving forward. I think that's it's really wonderful to see the strength and the power and the courage to do these kinds of things. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, do you want to close the session for us?
I have to say it's I feel we're ending on a positive note. I think there are many ideas, and I do think that key word is education. right? That even if we can't create new traditional folk tales, if we can make available to mainly young women, but also young boys, because they're the future too, make available to them other ideas, sources of help, sources of inspiration, the skills that Christy does, teaches her charges at Inwelle. But all of us, a number of you mentioned education, and I think that's really the key there. Whether it's in the form of folk tales, I think over time, the folk tales will probably adjust a little bit. When these young people growing up, educated and getting, hopefully, their traditional education through the traditional ways, family to family, group in a village, but they will also bring to that a better awareness. And I think over time, those would shift. In the meantime, I think that in education, using those traditional folk tales as a bridge to the students, and then the discussion afterwards, and also your own stories, right? Presenting how you were affected, because in America, 2 generations back, my mother did not work. That was shameful for a man if the wife worked, right? My 2 sisters and I were raised, you're going to go to college so you'll be a good, educated wife for a man. To surprise my parents, we all became strong, independent women with our own professions. That was not their plan. So change does happen, but education is key, as well as role models, as well as this kind of a discussion. So I don't know if I got everything covered or if there's anything else to be added, but I learned a lot today.
I posted YouTube Village Square, the link on the chat for anybody that wants to see more of these stories. You can copy it. It's on the chat. I'm posting it again. It's on YouTube. It's also at inwellecenter.org/village square. Let me put that one, center.org/village square. Okay, you can also go to the Village Square in the website and get that one too. For anybody who wants it. Other than that, thank you so much for coming. We are happy you came. I know a lot of people came and left because there are so many sessions to go into. So I keep seeing people coming and going, and I thank them, even though they're not here right now. I'm thanking everybody. People that signed up to come here are 122. And I'm sure most of them came because they were coming and leaving. Thank you so much for coming. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't leave the presenters. We need to recap, right?
Okay.
Okay. Let's wait for our attendees to leave, then we talk. Let me see.
Be able to move. Okay.
Okay.
Looks
we are
like
left.
except for Pretty.
Yeah. Pretty, where is she? What happened to her?
She left at some point.
Maybe her computer died on her.
Could be.
Yeah. Mine was going to die and I quickly put on my charger. Or because I know she's somewhere presenting either in Ghana or somewhere. So maybe they took the light. You know, in Africa countries, the light will go off at any time. Okay. Yeah, that was Pretty's husband that talked.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
think everyone did a great presentation.
Oh, I think she's
Thanks.
back. Let's see.
No, Margaret, you're still muted, Margaret.
Oh, okay,
Just-
Shireen Akbar. Shireen Akbar, where can you be coming now? It's supposed to end at 12, right?
yeah, I think so. Where's
Yeah,
that?
10:30 to 12. So
Oh, I thought it was 12:30.
no, it's 12.
Hope
10:30
I
to
didn't
12.
go too long. I'm thinking 12:05. Oh no.
No, 10:30 to 12. Or is it 12:30?
No, 12 is what the flyer
Okay.
says. See, I just looked.
12:05. 12:05.
No, we're talking about when
When
let
we
me let this
officially
person know
ended.
that the meeting has ended.
Yeah.
He's still waiting at the room there, waiting participant.
Oh.
This session is for 10
Okay.
It was
12
great to
noon.
hear everybody's comments and ideas, and yeah, great messages.
Let me get us out of record and we start talking.
Mm-hmm.
Let me stop recording.